Hello and welcome back to my craft room. Well, as you can see, I've got my mannequin back in the room. There's another thrift flip makeover in the pipeline, but that's the kind of project that takes a few days, and I also like to have something else to be doing in the evening, so I've been carrying on with my Bojagi or Pojagi. I'll put the word here in case I'm saying it completely wrong, which is this beautiful Korean patchworking technique. I've got a couple of different things I want to try today. This is where I've got to. I'm about to stitch these two sections together, these two blocks together. This is what I'm going to be using. I need some pins. For today's projects I'm going to need a couple of extra long pins. I think you could manage with normal ones, but the extra long ones make it easier. I've got a couple of needles. Somebody was asking, she's saying it was surprising that I use such a big needle when I'm trying to do such tiny stitches, and the reason I like these really long needles because you can take lots of little straight stitches all at the same time. Obviously you don't want to make great big holes in the fabric, but if I just, you can see it quite quickly. I just picked up a few stitches all at once, and because I'm using a slightly thicker thread, I need it to be a bigger eye to take the thread as well, and because the thread is a little bit thicker, yes, it makes bigger holes, but the thread kind of fills the holes as well. The other reason for using a bigger needle is so that you can see what I'm doing on camera more easily as well. So yeah, I mean, maybe it would have a better look if you used a finer needle. I think this was one of my Sashiko needles, which again involves lots of small stitches, so it suits me. It's what you're comfortable with. I like having I'm not as nimble fingered as I used to be, and I do like, I find this needle comfortable, but each stitcher must do as he or she feels comfortable, I guess. I'm also using this little blunt. It's a blunt one. This was sharp. Somebody did remind me it's called an awl. It kind of used to be an awl, but I think an awl is meant to be sharp, isn't it? And this is long stopped being sharp. It's that you don't want something that's too sharp for this, because you're just using it to score a line in the fabric. So I'm using this. It's perfect. But you can also use, if you've got one of these kind of paper folders with a reasonably sharp edge, so you can just make a line, and also if you've got one of these embossing tools that have the, not quite a point, but a little rounded tip, so it will make that mark without making a hole in the fabric, basically. I've got a short ruler and a little dinky pair of scissors, and also my bigger fabric cutting scissors, which are nice and sharp. I'm using this fine cotton fabric that's kind of semi-sheer. And the first thing I thought I'd show you today, I wanted to learn how to make these, I think they're called Bakji. Can you see that? And I love the look of them, and people add them to their Bojagi. One thing that I've seen is where somebody's got, imagine this is, obviously you'd pick a piece of ribbon that coordinates, but when they make these Bojagi as a cover for food or whatever, they do this little twist of ribbon with the Bakji to hold it, and they use that to lift it up by. The lovely lady Young Min Lee, I'll leave a link to her channel again. She explained that these are supposed to bring good fortune. So it's, if you add one of these to your project, you're giving good fortune to the person you're going to give it to. So I think that's really nice, and I just love the look of it too. So while I was looking at Young Min's video to remind myself how to do this, which I'll do one in a minute to show you, she also did a video making fabric butterflies, and I've seen these before. There are lots of tutorials, loads and loads and loads on YouTube, how to make these kind of, it's like origami but with fabric instead of paper. And Young Min had done a Bojagi version where she'd stitched around the outside in this visible overstitch, which I really love the look of. This was my idea, to put the little Bakji on the as the head of the butterfly. I'm possibly breaking some kind of rule doing that, I don't know, but I just liked the look of it as to be the butterfly body. And you can take, so say I had, say this, imagine this is a ponytail band, you know, an elastic hairband. You can actually wrap this around a band or a hair clip or whatever, and attach the butterfly to the hairband in that way to make a little decorative hairbands. But I thought this would be quite fun, because my idea is I'm wanting to make enough of this Bojagi, a big enough piece that I can turn it into a top, and I did think it'd be quite nice to add some butterflies to it. So this is the first one I've made. I need to practice them a bit more. Another little point of difference is that I did some of the pinch stitching that I showed last time. So where I did this with the pinch stitching method, if you look at the other side of it, you get that sort of effect, and that's what I've used there to create the look of the shape of the butterfly body. So yeah, I'm going to show you how to make them, and I'm going to make the Bakji, and I'm going to stitch these two blocks together, and maybe do a little bit of pinch stitching on a piece of this, because I'm going to have, I think, rather than have a whole kind of flower shape like that, I'm just going to do a few with just the leaf shape and dot them around the piece. You need to do the pinch stitching before you add the square in, because it will shrink the size of it down otherwise. So which to do first? I'm going to do all of those things this afternoon, so I thought I'll put the camera on, but I maybe won't get all of that done. It would make it quite a long video probably. So which should we do first? Let's make the Bakji. So cute. So for this I'm going to need my normal pins. Oh, and the other thing I'm working on is this. It's an upside down old stamp mat, so it's kind of a very dense foam that's just got a little bit of give in it, which is why it's really nice for using for stamping, but it's also nice for lots of other things, and you can see evidence of some of the other things I've used it for here. And I've got these couple of long pins, I'm going to need them, and my ridiculously long needle. I know. First thing to do, get my needle threaded ready, because it's going to be awkward later. As all the way through, I'm just using one strand of I'm sure that lady who left the comment can't be the only person who thought, why is she using such a huge needle? Tie a little knot in the end, and then that's all ready to go. To make the Bakji, you need a square, so I've just cut that to square by folding it up that way. You need to put a pin in two opposite corners, as close to the edge as you can go. I did find it a little bit awkward with this fabric, because it has a tendency to fray very readily, which isn't terribly helpful. So if you go too near the edge, it just kind of breaks away. Actually, let's put that the other way around, because I'll find it easier to turn towards me. And then you just start rolling. So I'm just pinching this between my finger and thumb. I'm just rolling it pretty tightly. You want quite a nice tight roll. I've just realised I'm making this square much too big, therefore these pins aren't going to be wide enough. Let's cut my square down a bit. Oh dear. Make it 5 centimetres. 5 centimetres, 2 inches. Right, try that again. I'm sure I could do with a bigger piece. But maybe if it was going to be bigger, I'd want a thicker fabric, I think. Just start rolling as tightly as I can till I get to the halfway point. I'm just going to pull that pin out a little bit. Okay, I'm about halfway now. Take the pin out and just put it through there to hold it. Now I'm going to turn it around and do the other half. It's quite difficult to start it rolling. As I say, I will leave a link to Young Min Lee's tutorial. Right, just rolled up until they kind of meet in the middle. Hold them together, take the pin out, and now I'm just going to fold this in half like that. And this is where it's good that you've got the needle all threaded and ready to go. And I'm going to start stitching, and I want to go in about less than a centimetre, about a bit more than half a centimetre, not as much as a whole centimetre, about 1/4 of an inch, I guess. I want to go through, put my needle right through both those kind of little sausages. Got the knot there, so I don't need to worry about that. And then I turn it over so you can see, I'm now going to go through both the sausages on the other side. And let's do that a couple of times. And then I'm going to wind the thread tightly around here, around the kind of neck of it, if you like, a few times. And then I'm just going to poke my needle down through there. I think that's enough. This is only the third one I've done, so okay, trim that end off. And now I'm going to hold this by the end and cut all of this surplus fabric off that end. And just use the little scissors now. Cut all that pretty close. That actually cut and must stitch in. I will have an experiment doing a bigger one with thicker fabric, because it would look nice to use as little, you know, like almost a button on the top of a box. And then what Young Min suggests is a glue stick. That's what she uses, but she says any glue will do. And apparently traditionally, I thought this was really interesting, traditionally Korean people would use a cooked grain of rice for this. I guess it's just the starch in the rice, and it's just to stop all the ends fraying. But you could use PVA glue as well. Glue stick's very convenient though, isn't it? So that's that done, and now hopefully, if I've done this right, I can now open this up and get that sweet Bakji effect. So Young Min had used them in the centre of some little cushioned, little pin cushions she was making that looked like cupcakes. That's sweet. Yeah, I definitely will try some bigger ones as well. I just love the look of that. It did occur to me as well that if I want to use them for the butterfly body, I could have, rather than cut all these ends off, I think I will experiment with leaving this bundle of surplus on and doing like a blanket stitch around it or something to create the butterfly body. So I'll do that with the blue one in a minute, and we'll see how that works out. Let's make the butterfly next. So I'm going to use the blue for this one. I've got 2 rectangles. I want to end up with my rectangles roughly 8 by 12 centimetres, so I suppose 3 by 5 inches would be fine. I've cut my 2 pieces a centimetre bigger than that all around to give me a seam allowance, or, you know, 1/4 of an inch would do if you're working in inches. And now I'm going to do just like I did with all of my Bojagi stitching. I'm just going to start by marking my seam allowance. just marked it like that, so it now makes it easy to fold over. Fold it over and finger press it, and at this stage, if you want to, you could definitely iron it. I'm going to work my way around and do that, the same thing on all 4 sides of both these pieces, and then I'll be back. Right, I've finished folding all my edges in, so that's now measuring roughly 12 by roughly 8 inches, and hopefully they're about the same as each other. So now what I'm going to do is pin the 2 pieces together. And although I'm going to use this in my Pojagi project, this isn't actually Pojagi, but the sewing method is very similar, and I'm using the same fabric, and I think the sort of delicate nature of the butterflies goes really well with the lovely airy quality of the Bojagi. So I think it will look nice as a little couple of them dotted around my top I'm hoping to make, or if I end up just keeping it as a, you know, like a curtain for the window or something, I would still put butterflies on it. There we go. Got my giant needle again, and this time I've used it's just slightly lighter. It was the nearest colour of embroidery cotton that I had, and I'm going to just put my needle through there from the inside so that I can tuck the knot away between the layers. So I'm just going to do a whip stitch all around. It's a bit more tricky where I've got these extra layers here. I don't want that to be too thick at the top, so I'm just making my whip stitch as close to the edge as I can, just picking up 2 or 3 threads, and I'll make it as uniform as I can. So where I'm going through these several layers, what I'm going to do is pick up the outside layer, skip those middle ones, pick up the outside layer on the opposite side, even bring them through separately if I need to. So that makes those extra layers kind of disappear inside more, if that makes sense. Oops, arm's length under the camera. I always say it, I know, but it's always tricky. It makes it look more difficult than it really is. When you've actually got it right up under your nose, it's not difficult at all. If I bring my head closer, you'll just see the top of my head, and that's not going to be very helpful, is it? Yeah, it might be easier just to pick up that outer layer on that side, pull it through, skip across those inside layers, and pick up the outer layer on the other side. Just makes it all tuck away a bit more tidily. Right, coming to the corner. Could definitely use clips instead of pins. Might be less annoying actually. So it'll get easier now. So I'm just really taking quite a small stitch there and trying to make sure it looks the same on both sides, because you are going to see all the stitching and you're going to see both sides of it. So I'm trying to make sure at this point I'm moving along the same distance as I did last time to get the size of my stitches even. So I'm going to work my way around here off camera so I can get it under my nose and see what I'm doing. and I will come back to you when I've gone all the way around the edge. So I finished stitching all the way around as neatly as I can. I was going to make a little knot to finish off. Again, little trick learnt from young men. So you hold the needle close to where you finished, wind the thread round a couple of times, maybe 3 times, hold it there between your finger and thumb, pull the needle through, and that makes a little knot just there, and then you can put the needle back through to the inside between the layers of fabric. Pull the knot through, so it just pops inside. It's not going to do it for me now. That's it. There we go. So now that end has gone inside. There's a knot inside to stop it coming out again, but you can't see it, which I thought was a neat little trick. First thing is to fold it up so the short edges meet, and then give that a good finger press. Now folding it over in quarters. Like that. I'm going to take this piece up like this. I fold it down. Let me do that once more. So I'm taking this, so all of the ends are here, the open ends are here, the open corners. I'm taking hold of one of them and pulling that up and pushing this down. A lot of origami pieces start with this fold. Press this downward as well. Turn it over. Do the same on this side. I've got to tweak it a little bit. And now I'm going to take this top corner and bring it down towards here. So you can see it's forming the butterfly shape. But I'm just going to take it kind of off to one side a little bit. Let's just stick a pin there a minute. And then the same here, bring this corner down and off to one side slightly. So you can see that butterfly shape has formed there. So I could now, there's different ways, I've seen these done in different ways. I could just adjust this slightly, hang on, and catch it down there to make that butterfly shape. I quite like that as well. So what I did last time was more like this. I folded it so that there was more of this part coming across, and I sort of exposed a bit more of the body, but actually I quite like it like that as well. So yeah, I would say if you're going to try these, have a play around and see what you like best. I'll do lots of different ones, but either way it now needs to be anchored here. So I'm gonna, oh, I should have, there, see, I said just now, didn't I should be prepared and have my thread ready, and I didn't. This is where if you wanted to make it into a hairband or whatever, you would fold this up and stitch it there, catch it in with this stitching, trapping the cord or whatever you're going to use, or clip or whatever inside there, and then you've got the butterfly shape. But I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be stitching it onto a flat fabric surface. I quite like that shape. Let's suppose I don't need to decide yet. I can just, as long as this is all fixed together, I can decide about that later. So let's just leave that open for now. And later on I'll decide if I want to have it more open like that as I stitch it down onto wherever I end up putting it, or whether I would rather close it up like that. And I'm now going to make another little Bakji. This time I'm going to try leaving the ends and see if they will make a good body. So let's just make sure this is square by folding that up. Make the snip there. There we go. Let's have my thread ready. There we go, that's all ready to go. Need my long pins. Pop them in right near the corner. I do find it hard to get it to start rolling, but once it's started it's not too bad. Remove the pins, fold it over, just over ½ centimetre, just under a centimetre, quarter of an inch or so down. Put my thread through both sausages, turn it round, same on the other side. Just do that one or two more times. And now I'm going to wind the thread around a few times, pretty tightly. Take my thread through to the inside. Snip it off. And this time, instead of cutting that off really close, I cut the very sort of fringy ends, but I'm going to leave most of this on and make a tail, make this into the kind of tail, the body rather, the body and tail of the butterfly. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Like that. Oh, maybe it looks like a little angel, doesn't it? Cute. So maybe I should have just left that thread attached actually, but I think I want more than one strand. I want 2 strands for this. So now I'm going to do a kind of blanket stitch. This is what I'm hoping is going to work anyway, kind of a blanket stitch around this piece. So I'm making my kind of C loop. Put my thread around, coming up through the loop, pulling it tight. Again, easier to do when you're not trying to hold it out at arm's length. So there's my loop coming over the top of the butterfly body, needles going underneath and coming up through. I guess I don't want to do that all the way down. I want to leave, so what I might do is have a pattern where I leave a little gap and then have 2 blanket stitches. Let's see how that works out. So I'm aiming to leave a bit of a gap this time. Okay, that's 2. Now leave a gap again. I've done that last little section, so now I think I'll just put the needle back through the body and back through again a couple of times just to anchor everything. And now I'm going to do the little open up the Bakji thing. So cute, I love that. And then that can be added on there. Done a little anchoring stitch there. The body's stitched on. It's a little bit messy at the back, but that isn't going to show, because I'll either apply it flat like that to something, or I will fold up this point to attach it to let's just do that a minute, to attach it to a band or a clip or whatever. Just lose that end inside the layers. That's my butterflies done. I've done the butterflies, I've done the Bakji. And I think probably this video is quite long enough, so I'm going to leave the rest now until the rest of what I was going to do. I'll do that in a separate video. So in a separate video I will join these blocks together and do some more of the pinch stitch. Now I've practiced a little bit more. I don't want to make this video too long. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'll be back soon with more Bojagi and all sorts of other arts and crafts projects. I've just got so much going on in the pipeline at the moment. Thank you very much for joining me and for all the lovely comments. I really appreciate it. It makes my day every time. Thanks very much again for joining me today, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.